There is a particular kind of silence that only comes after you've buried almost everyone you ever loved. It doesn't roar, it doesn't scream, it just settles in your chest like winter air that never quite leaves. My name is Clara Whitfield. I am 102 years old. I live alone in a small wooden house in Virginia. The paint on the porch is peeling, the floorboards creak when I walk across them, and every evening the sun spills through the same kitchen window it has for nearly 60 years. And I am still here. People often ask me what it feels like to live this long. They expect me to say it feels like a blessing, or a miracle, or proof of strong genes and clean living. But the truth is heavier than that. Living a long life is not just about adding years. It is about learning how to carry loss without collapsing under it. When I was a little girl, I thought 40 was old. When I turned 60, I thought 80 was impossible. When I reached 90, people started speaking to me like I was made of glass. Now at 102, people look at me like I am some kind of artifact, a museum piece, something that survived a time that no longer exists. But I don't feel like a relic. Inside, I am still the young woman who once ran barefoot through summer grass. I am still the bride who trembled when she said her vows. I am still the mother who stayed awake all night listening to the sound of her baby breathing. Time changes your body, yes, but it does not erase the versions of you that came before. That is the first truth no one tells you about growing old. You do not become someone new. You become everyone you have ever been, all at once. When my husband Thomas passed away 27 years ago, I remember standing in this very kitchen, staring at the coffee cup he had used that morning. The coffee had gone cold. The chair was slightly pulled back from the table. The newspaper was folded to the crossword. Everything looked so ordinary, and yet nothing would ever be ordinary again. Grief at 75 is not the same as grief at 25. When you are young, you believe life will refill what has been taken. You believe new people, new joys, new chapters will come rushing in to soften the blow. But when you are older, you understand something terrifying. There are some losses that will not be replaced. You don't move on. You move forward carrying the empty space with you. For a long time after Thomas died, I was angry. Not at him, not even at God. I was angry at the silence. The house was too quiet. The bed was too wide. The evenings stretched on like empty highways. And I realized something then. Loneliness is not about being alone. It is about having memories with no one left to share them with. That is the second truth no one tells you. The longer you live, the more memories you carry alone. Friends from childhood are gone. Sisters and brothers gone. Neighbors gone. Even my own son passed before me. No mother expects that. No mother is prepared for it. There is a special ache in outliving your child. It feels unnatural, like the world has tilted off its axis. For a while, I asked myself why I was still here. Why I was spared when so many stronger, kinder, younger people were not. And eventually, the answer came quietly. I am here because there is still something left for me to learn. At 102, I am still learning. That surprises people. They think wisdom arrives at a certain age and then settles like dust. But wisdom is not a destination. It is a constant surrender. When I was young, I believed control was everything. Plan carefully, save diligently, protect your heart, build your life like a fortress. But time has a way of laughing at fortresses. Illness comes, Accidents happen, people leave, the world changes in ways you never saw coming. If I could sit across from my 30-year-old self, I would take her hands and tell her this: stop trying to control what is temporary. Instead, treasure it. I wasted years worrying about things that never happened. I lost sleep over opinions that no longer matter. I held grudges against people who have been gone for decades. And now, at 102, I cannot even remember what those arguments were about. But I remember the laughter. I remember the way Thomas would hum while fixing the fence. I remember the smell of my mother's perfume. I remember the sound of my son's footsteps running down the hallway. Those are the things that survive. Not the anger, not the pride, not the fear. Here is another truth no one tells you about growing old. Regret gets heavier with time if you do not forgive yourself. I used to replay moments in my mind, words I wish I hadn't said, opportunities I was too afraid to take, days I chose work over family, silence when I should have spoken up. For years, those memories felt like sharp stones in my pockets. But somewhere in my 90s, I grew tired of carrying them. So I began a quiet practice. Every night before bed, I would whisper, I did the best I could with who I was at the time. And slowly, the stones grew lighter. You cannot rewrite your past, but you can change how you hold it. That is freedom. People assume that at 102, I must be afraid of death. I am not. When you have lived this long, death stops being a monster hiding in the shadows. It becomes an old neighbor you know is coming by eventually. I do not wake up fearing the end. I wake up grateful for the morning light. There is something beautiful about knowing your time is limited. It sharpens everything. The taste of tea, the warmth of sunlight on your hands, the sound of birds outside your window. When you are young, you think life is endless, so you postpone joy. I'll travel later. I'll say I love you tomorrow. I'll rest when things slow down. Let me tell you something gently but firmly. Later is a dangerous word. I have watched too many people wait for a perfect moment that never arrived. Take the trip. Make the call. Forgive the person. Wear the good dress. Because one day you will blink and you will be 102, sitting in a wooden house, wondering how it all passed so quickly. Another thing no one tells you about aging is this: your body will change in ways that humble you. I used to pride myself on my strength. I could lift heavy baskets, scrub floors, tend gardens for hours. Now my hands tremble when I pour my tea. My knees ache when the weather shifts. I move slower. I rest more. At first, that loss felt cruel. I did not want help. I did not want pity. I did not want to feel fragile. But aging has taught me a powerful lesson. Strength is not the absence of weakness. Strength is adapting with grace. I have learned to sit when I need to sit, to ask for help when I need it, to move at the pace my body allows without shame. There is dignity in accepting change. And here is perhaps the hardest truth of all. Not everyone will stay with you until the end. Some friendships fade, some family members drift away, some people love you only in certain seasons of your life. When I was younger, I fought against that. I tried to hold people tightly, afraid of losing them. Now I understand something softer. People are chapters, not the whole book. And every chapter, even the painful ones, shapes the story. Living alone at 102 has forced me to become comfortable with my own company. In the evenings, I sit by the window with a blanket around my shoulders. I listen to the wind brush against the trees. I think about the life I've lived, and I do not feel empty. I feel full, full of love that once was, full of lessons hard-earned, full of gratitude for simple things. If you are younger than me, and I imagine you are, I want you to hear this clearly. Do not measure your life only by achievements. Measure it by tenderness, by the way you treat people when they can offer you nothing in return, by how quickly you apologize, by how deeply you listen. At 102, no one asks me about my bank account. No one cares how many promotions I earned. No one talks about the mistakes I made at work. They ask me about love. They ask me how to survive loss. They ask me what truly matters. And my answer is always the same. What matters is who you become while time is shaping you. Do you become bitter? Or do you become gentle? I have known people who grew old and hardened. They clung to resentment like it was proof they had been wronged. And I have known others who softened, who let pain carve compassion into them. You get to choose. Age does not automatically make you wise. Reflection does. Forgiveness does. Gratitude does. As I sit here now, 102 years old, listening to the faint ticking of the clock in my hallway, I feel something unexpected. Peace. Not because my life was perfect. It wasn't. Not because I avoided heartbreak. I didn't. But because I have made peace with the fact that life was never meant to be controlled. It was meant to be experienced. Fully. Messily. Lovingly. If I could leave you with one final truth, it would be this. Do not wait until you are 102 to start living honestly. Say what you feel. Hold the people you love a little longer. Let go of pride. And remember that one day, if you are lucky enough to grow old, you will not wish for more things. You will wish for more moments. I outlived almost everyone, and yet I am not alone. Because every laugh, every tear, every embrace still lives inside me. And until my last breath, that will be enough.